Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video, we successfully complete our create position, that means the add musician. So from here, now we can actually add our new musician, right? So now I want to update it. So if you want to update it, they have also another class. So there have also another building class. We have to first of all call it, that is our class name as update view. Okay, so I just simply first of all defining it as an update view, and now also we have to create one of the class. So after this I want to create another class, and I just name this class as update. Okay, update and musician, I name it as update musician, and also it will be inherited with our this class, that means the update view class. So I just simply define our update view class, right? And after that, which data you want to update. So here also you have to define that field. Okay, so I just simply define as the fields, and with this field I want to define our field name. So I want to update our first name, and also I want to update our installment. So that's all that our database field name. So here I only want to update our two of these database field as a first name and the installment. And after that we have to define our model, and then our models, and into this models, which data we want to update. I want to update that data from our musician table. So I just simply define our musician table name. And also here we have to update it with a specific one of the ID, right? That means if you want to update, like I just browse it. So if you want to update a specific this name, that means the first name and the installment, then you have to also update it with a specific one of the ID. That means one ID you want to update, 6 ID you want to update, 7 ID if you want to update it, then you have to define that ID. So this will be for that reasons we have to create one of the URL. So now go to our URL, and with the URL it should be just like that same, because in our musician details I have also defined one of the ID. So it will be just like that same. So here I have defined as a musician, not details. I name it as an update. Okay, I just name it as update, and also it will be updated with PK, that means the primary key. And also I have created one of the class in our view. Into the view I have created class name as an update musician. So I just simply define that name as update musician as view, and here I name this path as a musician update. Okay friend. And also here we have to define one of the button, like here when this data will be in our details page. Into the details area I want to create another button for the update. So if you click as the update, then it will be updated. Okay, so for doing this we have to add this button in our musician details. So now go to our first tab, and that is our musician details. So after this, okay, so after this here I want to take one of the ahref. So I just simply define a ahref, and also here define one of the class. Okay, I just define the class as a btn, and I name it as another class as a warning. Okay, I just name it as a btn warning, and then btn sm, and then it will be as update. So I just simply define as update. And also here we have to define our URL, so that the URL path I have already created. Sorry, that will be as a percentage. Okay, so into this percentage our key as a URL, and then also in our URL area with our app name I have created one of the path as a musician data, the musician update, right? So I just simply copy that first app. So that is our first tab, and into the first tab here also we have to define our path. So I have already created one of the URL path, so that is our musician update. So I just simply update that musician, right? And also here we have to define one of the ID, because of all here you can see I have also defined of the ID as a musician and the ID as a primary key. So now also we have to do the same things that we did before, like I just take the things with the PK, and PK with this here I get all the data with our musician, right? So I have already get all that our musician details data with this musician. If you go to our view, into the musician details here I have passed all the data with this musician, right? And also here I display it. So now with this musician I want to access our ID. So with this musician I want to access our ID, or I am defining by default one as a PK, that means the primary key. So now you're going to see one of the magic, like here, if you now click as a save all, it should be very much interactive. One of the things, how much easy it is. Like here, if you now go to that home, go to that Kazarian, and now if you click as an update, you can see I didn't define any form. By default, it's actually getting our this form data. So that is actually using our musician update with the specific one data. It's actually using our this add musician. Okay, that means into the musician add musician, here I have already get all that our field data. So by default, it's actually getting that field. Like if you click as an update, and you can see for the update, I have defined the two field. If you go to our view, into the view, I have defined as a first name and the installment. So for the reasons, you can see it's now showing as a first name and the installment data. And also here it's now showing as a add new musician. So as I told you, it's actually using our this page. That means our add new, that means the add musician page. You can see that is actually add musician, and that is our form. So now by default, actually it using our this form. You can see that is the add new musician, and that have I defined two of this field I want to update. So for the reasons, it's now showing as a first name and the installment. So it's not should be display like that way. That means when I click as a update, then it's automatically here is this text will be updated, right? Here I want to display a different text, and when it will be as a add musician page, then it's okay with me. So here if you want to define this type of one of the condition, then you can defining it. So you have to defining it in our musician form. So open our musician form. So that is our add musician form, right? So in particular that area, actually our this page is now loaded for our update. So here I want to define one of the condition. So it's pretty much simple things. I just simply define one of the condition, and here I define one of the if condition. If our form, because with this form we actually get all the data. So into this form I define as an instant. Okay, instance, into the instance when it should be have any pk, that means our primary key, then I want to do and display another text. So here I just simply define another text, then it should be display as a update musician. Okay, so now I want to define else it should be display our this portion. So I just simply define as else. So here I define as else it should be display our that text, that means this h13 text. That means here after this I want to AND it. So I just simply AND our this if condition. Okay friend, I hope you can well understand about it. So here I defined, because our same page is actually loaded for our two page. So it's loaded for our add data, that means the add musician data, and also this same form is loaded for our another page for our update, right? For the reasons here I have defined this condition. If you go to our URL and into the URL, here you can see that is our add musician. Into the add musician they have no ID as a pk, but here in our musician update URL they have also one of the ID as a pk, right? So for the reasons here I have defined when he get this pk ID. So for the reasons here I am defining it, when this form have any pk ID, that means the primary key, then it should be display as a update musician, and else it should be display as a add musician. Okay, so now I just simply defining that part, and also I AND this if condition. Now if you click as a save all, I just click as a save all, and now if you go here, if you now refresh it, now you can see for this URL that have no ID, that means that no primary key. For the reasons it's now showing as a add new musician. But if you go to home, if you go to Kazari and click on the update, now you can see now they have also one of the ID. So with this ID I have defined some of the condition. When we getting any ID, then it should be display our another text as an update musician. So now you can see it's now showing as an update musician, and also it's getting our appropriate one ID, first name, and the installment data. And also here we don't need to add any code for this, it automatically will be updated. Like here I want to update our first name, so now I want to remove that one, and also from the guitar I remove that one. Now if you click as the add musician, now you can see it's automatically updated. Our Kazi is updated, and also there's a guitar is updated. If you go to our home, that is our ABB. So here I want to update as a ABB update. Okay, I name it as ABB update, and also in installment I updated as a CC updated. Click on the add musician. Now you can see our first name is updated and also our installment is updated. I hope you can well understand about it. And also if you want to update your last name, then you have to add that another field. Because of all in our view area, I have only defined the two field, right? Now I want to take another one. I just take another one as a last name. That means our last name field, okay? The last and the last name. And into the last name, I also define this. So now we can actually update our first name, last name, and the installment. Now I just click as a save all. Now go here, go to home. Like there is a Kazi Aryan. You can see there is a clear Kazi and our last name and then our installment. So now I want to update it. Now you can see that the another field is added as a last name. So I want to update our last name now. So I want to update it. Click as a add musician. You can see it's now perfectly now updated. I hope it's very much clear to you, friends. So with this our class, that means our update view class, we can actually update it. And also they have the another one for the delete. So if you want to delete this data, how can delete it? In our next video, I will show you that things with the live example. So thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video.